Welcome once again to Think Tank TV. My name is Moses Waribo, and today we've got a very interesting show for you. Recall we said we are going to be bringing technocrats in their different fields who will be discussing insightful topics. We're going to be keeping that promise today. If you're new to this channel, do well to hit the subscribe button, do us a thumbs up, and give us a comment to tell us what you'd like us to add up to our show. We have on set today Madam Mercy Chepaka, we have Daddy Leverage, and we're going to be discussing a very insightful topic. The topic we title The Meat of Singleness. Join us to make welcome Madam Mercy Chepaka and Daddy Leverage. Welcome, Daddy Leverage. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you.
So it's going to be a great time today, and we'll try to do our best to work within our time limits, right? So we're talking about the meat of singleness, right? So can we have an overview? But first of all, you may go ahead to introduce yourself to our viewers. Tell them about yourself for maybe just a few minutes.
Okay. Hello, viewers. This is your sister Mercy Chepaka, your online relationship and career guidance counselor. I run a program every Wednesday, Ask Mercy, and then a relationship frank talk with Ask Mercy once every month. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So that Leverage, can you say hello to?
Good day, viewers. My name is Ukochiko Bodo, aka Daddy Leverage. Most of you will ask why leverage. So everything in life is about leveraging. I'm here to talk to us about relationship, about singlehood and all that. So everything you do, always think of leverage. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for having us here. Let's go straight to business already. We're talking about the meat of singleness. The meat of singleness. We're able to elaborate it a little, and I like us to start with Sister Mercy. Can you tell us about singleness? What is it about singleness? Why should people attain singleness before even talking about relationships?
Okay. The myth of singleness. Some persons feel that being single is a taboo. And you see, we are in a generation where people think that if you're not married, you're a certain age, let's say you're 30, you're 40, you're not married, is a problem. You see people telling you, why are you not married? Something must be wrong, something must be wrong. But then they fail to understand that the period of singleness is a time when one has to really get to know about themselves, when one has to really get to know who they are. It's a time for self-realization, self-awareness, and you don't want to break this particular process. You want to go through the process until you have attained wholeness in your singlehood. You cannot go into relationship and marriage. So there are a lot of myths we have concerning singleness. So our young adults that are single are put into pressure into getting married when they don't really know what they are supposed to do in marriage, when they don't really even understand themselves. So these are some of the myths that we are here to change and then bring light to, so people really embrace singleness and know that it is something that one should really embrace. It's a process we need to go through. You don't jump it.
Wow, interesting. So that leverage, can we have a background of what you're thinking about singleness is? Because I know you're married as well. Maybe you should to tell us from the married perspective as well.
Okay, singleness is one. So before you jump into any kind of marriage, be it married, be it you're married or you're courting or you're dating, as they say, you must first of all be alone. Being alone is to know yourself. Until you know yourself, you cannot be patient enough with someone else. Because as a single person, it is time for you to understand who you are. Then bringing somebody into your life, it makes you compatible. But if you've not understood yourself, and this person is coming with what he or she carries, then there will be conflict, there will be confusion in that relationship or marriage. So first of all, for me, singlehood is from your dream, your goal, your achievement. You should know what you want. In fact, I read somewhere They said before a man should marry a woman, he should start something. The woman that is coming in is coming to help you. And also, a woman too should be busy with doing something. Because if you're not doing anything and you meet somebody, you might not even do anything at all. So first of all, singlehood is understanding oneself.
Okay, understanding oneself. So what are the things a person should be checking out for to be able to know that perhaps you're actually in the phase of understanding yourself? What are the criteria for understanding yourself? What should a person be checking out for? Mercy, can you explain to our viewers?
Okay. First of all, I'm going to answer this question from the biblical aspect of it.
Okay.
When we look at Adam, before God gave Adam a wife, before God gave Adam Eve, God gave Adam a job. He gave him work. And that work is what defines his purpose. So Adam was first of all single. He was first of all single, and in his singleness, he attained a level of wholeness.
Yeah.
Adam did not tell God, I need a wife. He did not tell God, I want to marry. God knew that he was functioning purposefully in his assignment, in his mission, in his calling. And then God deemed it fit to say, now, because you have attained this height of singleness, let me give you somebody to share your life with. And then he brought Eve into the picture. Let me bring somebody to complement you, not to complete you. There's a difference between complete and complement. Someone that will help you. Now, when we want to get married, one of the things we should be looking at is, I always say, first of all, this person should know God, because the marriage thing is something that is instituted by God. So this person should have an awareness with his mission, his purpose, his assignment in God. Then secondly, you should get married to somebody that is whole. You cannot be whole if you have not gone through the school of singlehood. You have to be there to be whole. It's just like a cup, for instance. I hear people say, I want to marry my better half. I want to marry my better half.
Yeah.
That particular language is a myth. Okay, this is
wrong myth.
It's a wrong myth. Yes, it's a wrong one. For instance, a cup of water. We have 2 glasses of water that is half full. When you want to marry somebody that says your better half, the person comes with that half cup of water and pours inside of you, or you start demanding, you start needing, and that's where we get some of this relationship problem. You want this person to pour into you, you want this person to be there for you, you're making demands, you become controlling sometimes because there are things you're missing, you want this person to feel. So what happened? This person becomes strained. When this person pours into you, what happens to the person?
Becomes empty, of course.
The person becomes empty.
Yeah.
So you see where you're having the problem. But then when I come into the relationship full, and then this person comes into the relationship full, we have 2 full cups of glasses of water. What happened? We now become an overflow. So there you get 1 + 1 = 1. It's not half plus half equals to 1. It's 1 + 1. There the wholeness comes. So when you want to get married, secondly, look for someone that is whole. Let them be whole in their individuality, meaning they've been able to speak their purpose language.
Identify their purpose and then perhaps following it.
Yeah. They understand themselves. He talked something. He said he talked about self-realization. Exactly. You have to realize yourself, know who you are. Until you attain who you are, you know your values, you know your likes, you know your dislikes, you appreciate yourself, you are able to be alone, to understand that. That is when you can share your life with someone.
Okay, so there are a lot of people that think that I'm 40, I'm qualified to be married, and because perhaps they analyze their qualification based on age, or I have all the money to so I'm qualified to be married. Now, can we look at the things that a person should be looking out for? For instance, a lady may be looking out for a guy that's married, and based on what you've said, she's checking out for a person who is whole. What are the things she should be looking out for? Let's itemize them straight up for them. First of all, you've talked about the person should be on his course in terms of purpose, right? Okay. So what are the other things that a person should be looking out for in a person that should be his would-be?
Okay, let me comment. Now, one of these a single person should learn to do before you think of bringing somebody into your life, be it relationship, be it marriage, is you must learn to take responsibility. A lot of people do not take responsibility for even themselves. I will take myself as an example. When I was single, there are some things I don't used to do. And I knew that it would be a problem for me. Even while I was dating, it was difficult for me to do them. So one day I sat down and I told myself that for me to do this, I must take responsibility for these actions. Because if I bring in somebody into my life, this person is not coming today and she will go tomorrow. This person is coming to stay forever. So I must take responsibility of everything I do. So one of the things I will tell both the male and the female is that to learn to take responsibility. Taking responsibility could be in your finance, could be in your career, could be on the job you're doing, could be the way you treat people. I'm responsible for this person. It could be the way you interact with the environment. So I met there was somebody that told me that she cannot sleep on the same bed with somebody and you touch her. So what if you're married? So you every night you tell your husband, honey, don't touch me on. And you get married to a man that likes holding a woman. It becomes a problem. So you need to learn to take responsibility. This thing I'm going to enter. So these things I will be doing them because it's my responsibility to make sure that this person is either happy or satisfied.
Okay, so I also saw some a write-up some time ago that somebody was saying that actually marriage actually exposes true defaults most times, because some of us think that when I get married, this guy will compliment me, will be able to cover most of my defaults, but that's where you begin to see people having complaints. When she came into my life, I begin to see that she's a dirty woman, for instance, or I begin to see that he's a dirty man. But you will be seeing it when you're not married, as the person will just clean outside, this person is looking beautiful. But when the person gets married, at that point you begin to see that this girl is dirty, this girl stinks. Why? Because this guy snores, or this guy do things you don't really like. So I think the position of singleness is very critical, as it has to do with a person finding the right person. So can we relate singleness to purpose? I want us to be able to hit that a little, because a lot of people think that you have to be married because you can fulfill your purpose. If I get married now, I can now pursue my dreams, my goals, and all that. How can we relate and elaborate a little more on that, Madam Messi?
Yes, singleness can be related to purpose. First of all, like I said, going back to the Garden of Eden, your purpose is you. Your purpose is your function. In your place of singleness, that's when you get to know who you want to become, what you want to become, and where you're going to. And that is why I always say, you mentioned something earlier. You said you see somebody that is up to the age of 40, and some persons will be like, why are you not married? Or what's the problem? I define early marriage as getting married when you have not actualized maturity in all criteria that will make a marriage sustainable. One, this person has to be matured mentally, physically, academically, sexually, spiritually, and functioning in your purpose until you have understood your purpose in your singleness. If you go and get married, that's early marriage. You're not ready at all. So just like my brother here said, you were also saying, how do you now know who you're going to marry? First of all, the act of intentionality to find. You cannot find who to marry when you don't understand yourself. So first of all, understand yourself, your purpose in your singleness. Then you go and then find, which is taking responsibility. The Bible says, he that finds a wife finds a good thing. Do not go and find when you don't know your purpose, because this person that is going to help you, what are they coming to help you to do? For instance, if you're a man or if you're a woman, you don't understand what you're going to do, you don't understand your purpose, what are you going to do in the institution of marriage? And that's why we have a lot of those issues. So there has to be an intentionality in taking responsibility to find. And then the second one is looking at compatibility. Compatibility also has to do with your purpose. This person should be your purpose partner that speaks your purpose language. If you do not have same ideologies, you don't have same, imagine, okay, you're speaking Swahili and this person is speaking Boni. Can you really understand yourselves? No. So there has to be compatibility in ideologies, compatibility in a whole lot of things. looking at that one, I can ask, okay, I'm mature. Already I know myself what I want. Then I should be looking at a partner that is compatible with me in that direction. And then I involve God also. So when I meet these criteria, I can now say, one, I'm matured in all facets, and then I've understood myself, and then I have to take responsibility in finding who to marry. If you're a woman, you position yourself in your singleness and wholeness. Some persons are unmarried, but they are not single. So there is a difference between being unmarried. We have a lot of unmarried people that are not single. Singleness is something even the marriage should embrace, because then you don't come and make so much demands on your partner. So we have lots of unmarried people who are not single.
Exactly. So I also heard from a very wise man that was talking about, if you see a person who is actually very desperate to get married, you should run.
You should run, yes.
Because
because they are not whole, yes.
Yeah, the person is actually not fulfilled, and actually ones thinking that the person, by getting married to someone else, that person will now help him to get fulfilled. He also talked about bonding in the topic I was reading about, talking about singleness. He talked about bonding, how bonds are like cobwebs between two people, right? The more we relate, the more we get to know ourselves, the cobwebs are increasing by the day. And interestingly, he said these cobwebs do not break and you cannot cut it. The only way you can detach these cobwebs is by pulling it, and that's where you have what we call the heartbreak, because it pulls with blood. So they are saying be intentional about being single, so that before you begin to
and who you bond with through communication,
before you begin to bond with a person, you should be very intentional about it. I think that's more about. Ugochukwu, you have something else to say, so we can wrap up, because we're actually time bound. Yeah,
I have two things to say here.
You have to be a little.
Yes. One, I want to correct the impression that age is not what makes you mature.
Yeah.
And age is not what makes you. It's not a criteria that, okay, this person, because I'm 35, I'm 40, I'm matured enough to marry. No. If you're matured at 22, 20, as a young man, you can marry.
That's maturity based on what she's talked about, the criteria.
Yes.
Okay.
So maturity is the age. The number is not maturity.
Exactly.
It is how much you have known yourself. How much research have you made on that topic, particular topic of relationship, marriage, and all that. Secondly, to another point I have is, to be single is not a sin.
Exactly.
But what is the problem is people are lonely. Like she said, there's something said unmarried, and
yes.
You can be married
and still be lonely.
Very lonely. Yeah. Exactly.
But you can be married and be single.
So you
can be married and still be single, but you cannot be married and be alone. If you're married and you're alone, then
it's even worse than a person that is single and not lonely, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
so many people are in marriages and relationships and not happy alone.
Because they are ill-equipped. The ingredients they are putting, or the ingredients they are bringing into the marriage, is not enough to get a good product. Because whatever ingredients you put is what will give you the product that we see. So we have a lot of people that are ill-equipped for marriage, and they do not really go through the school of singlehood to get married. So we have half-baked cakes, and cakes that are not even well mixed because of the individual ingredients to come into the relationship.
I also heard about somebody talking about it's actually the recipes that brings about a good cake.
Exactly.
So if you have a cake that you made and it's not sweet, you cannot be blaming the cake. You should be blaming the recipe.
Good.
And marriage is like a cake. It's a combination of two good recipes that makes a good marriage. So I think that's
even not just marriage, relationships.
Yes.
Because if you want to make, let's say for instance, you want to make egusi soup.
The ingredients, the composition of the ingredients is what makes
exactly. Thickener. You're not getting egusi soup again.
Exactly.
So you must use egusi to get egusi soup. So you must use the right
ingredients
to get the right result.
Exactly.
So I believe our message has been clear that it's very important for people to deliberately think about fulfilling singleness before transforming or moving ahead to getting married. Think Tank TV is more of an inspirational and live-based TV station. So we always like to end our conversations with live questions. So Mercy would like to ask you, in the course of your growth in life and the challenges you would have faced, what is the major challenge you have gone through and how were you able to overcome it?
Wow. Okay. I've been through lots of challenges, but I think there's one that stands out of that's been able to survive an abusive relationship. Yes.
So I believe that maybe that's what gave you the inspiration to go into being in a relationship.
Yes. I run a forum on Facebook helping abused women in narcissistic marriages. I've been a victim of abuse.
Abusive marriage or
abusive relationship. Let me
So you need a little because we are time bound.
Yeah. So I think the challenge is there. What are those things that have built me to the person I am today? One of the ways I was able to overcome that challenge was one, being able to understand myself. It was during that period I wrote a book, Woman Know Thyself.
Wow.
Yes, so it's related to this. I wrote a book then in my year 3, Woman Know Thyself. I had to go back to know myself, and I had to know that this is not what I want, and I had to depend and rely on God. I had to be intentional about my growth, and I had to be determined to rise up above the statistics of persons who had died in abusive relationships, that no, this wasn't what I was going to do, and then to use my story to help others.
So first of all, you are determined.
Determination.
You knew what you wanted. You are determined that this is not it.
I had to go into self-realization of who I was.
Yes, exactly.
And that was what modified and then changed. Yes.
Thank you so much, Madam Mercy. Ugochukwu Obodo, can you tell us a little about how, just brief please, as much as possible, we cut short so we can wrap up.
In relationship?
No, in life generally, just a challenge you were able to go through that you think a lot of our viewers out there can hear and also learn something from.
Okay, my experience was growing up as a young person. I used to have this migraine headache that was so disturbing. So back in my secondary days, I found it very difficult to read. So but what helped me was I had to understand myself, that I don't have to read for long to understand. So when I'm in an environment, I devised a means to learn. I learn by observation, I learn by what people do. So when somebody is talking to me, I don't look at the noise, I look at the points. So I pay attention and absorb this information. So when I go home, I was privileged to be in a teenage program, and the pastor then said, when you go home, before you sleep, let your life be a mirror. Look at what you have done from morning till night.
That's retrospect. We treated the topic titled retrospect.
So look at what you did from morning till night. Then look at what
your
you did
errors were, and
what you learned and what you should unlearn. So that way I was able to overcome this headache. So instead of me to read more, I go to people who have gone through this process. I just listen. So when they finish, I come back. I can go to 3 to 4 persons on the same topic, and they will teach me the same thing.
Okay, so that's very interesting. And in fact, interestingly, they said one of the strongest ways of learning is by observation. I read it somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's a very great strategy you have there. So viewers, thank you so much for watching the video today. We're going to be coming on set every Friday with this relationship show. We talked about singleness, which has to do with the basis of a relationship, but we have Mercy here, so she's going to be taking us on relationship proper, man and woman, and a lot more that you really would want to be catch up with us. So do well to follow us to ensure every Friday you catch up with us. At some point, we'll get you involved in our live shows where it's going to be interactive with us. Thank you so much for watching. Ensure you do well to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and comment on what you think we should do better. Bye for now.